Hi everyone, welcome to Miss Adams Teaches Poetry. In this video, we're going to be analysing Elizabeth Jennings Absence. I'm going to take you through 5 key quotes focusing on language structure and form, so hopefully perfect for those revision cards. Let's get started. Okay, let's look at our first quote, which is of course the opening line. How could we not? I visited the place where we last met. Now you might just look at me and go, there's nothing to say there, miss. But hang on, yes there is. Okay, obviously yes, it's first person. I visited the place where we last met. So we've got our first person pronoun singular. But look, you then have your first person pronoun plural, we. So there's actually a juxtaposition between the I and the we here, demonstrating that change in status, reminding us that this is of course a poem about absence, about someone not being there anymore. We also have some quite deliberately vague language. The place where we last met. We don't actually know where she is or what the kind of timestamp is on it, how long ago they were at this place. Now, I think that creates a sort of universality in terms of the sort of grief that the narrator is experiencing. Notice I keep saying the narrator, and that is because it is not necessarily an autobiographical poem, okay? So just stick with the narrator rather than saying, oh, Jennings is feeling really upset here, the narrator, okay? So very, very clear start of the poem, sets about the kind of notion of grief and a nice little bit of kind of grammatical analysis for you there. Okay, let's look at this bit. There was no sign that anything had ended and nothing to instruct me to forget. Again, we've got the vague language, anything. There was no sign that, so notice she doesn't say there was no sign of your death or that you left me, because we don't even know what kind of loss this is, although my response to it is that it's about death, but that's my response as the person reading it. I don't know whether it's meant about someone being divorced or whether it's a death. But again, slightly vague language is universal. And there was nothing to instruct me to forget. So we've got this personification here. But the personification demonstrates what it is that the narrator is looking for. Jennings is suggesting that the narrator is looking for closure. She's looking to be told to forget. She's looking to be told to move on by something within this garden. Lovely quote. The thoughtless birds that shook out of the trees, singing an ecstasy I could not share. So first of all, we've got personification. If you wanted to be really fancy, you could say anthropomorphism, which is when you give an animal human characteristics, think Animal Farm. But this personification of the birds really demonstrates something about the way that she's feeling, that she looks at the birds who are kind of harmless and innocent and singing, and she sees them as being unkind, insensitive, thoughtless, that they should be doing something different. They should be marking the occasion. And this is heightened by the hyperbole that they are singing an ecstasy that you can't share, that the narrator can't sort of be on board with, and ecstasy meaning extreme joy, extreme happiness. So yeah, very much hyperbolic, and it does create this bitter, angry tone because she can't quite resolve the fact that they're not marking the occasion of this loss, and it's making her feel bitter, even though she is questioning that, particularly in the very next line where she says, surely she shouldn't have these feelings of pain. I'm going to move on to a different quote because we're only doing 5. This is right in the final stanza. For under all the gentleness there came an earthquake tremor. So let's start here with this metaphor of the earthquake tremor, because it's not literally ground is shaking, but it's like everything, her feelings, her sense of stability, her sense of kind of everything being the same is all shaken up, and it's juxtaposed with the notion of the gentleness. The gentleness is representative of all of these kind of monotonous things she's been talking about in the garden, the well-tended gardens, the usual steady jets. That's the gentleness. And suddenly coming from underneath, there is this earthquake tremor. And look at the way that the enjambment places emphasis on that moment, on the earthquake tremor, on jump-a-more, meaning run online. If you've watched my context video, I gave you a little bit of detail about Freud's theory of the consciousness, and that's what this relates to. It's this idea, this could be about those feelings, that emotion, that grief coming from the subconscious up into the conscious mind in this sort of dramatic way. And then the last line of the poem, oh, fountain, birds and grass were shaken by my thinking of your name. Yeah, we've got that little triad, and that triad represents once more the gentleness that has been shaken up by the earthquake. Continuing that metaphor, so it's a slight extended metaphor. So we're shaken by my thinking of your name. I know I only said 5 quotes, and I'm sticking to that, except I'm just chucking that one in, savage force, because this is, again, it's about the intensity of that realization. The thinking of the name of the person she has lost creates this extraordinary feeling of grief, of loss. Note the fact that we still don't know the name, your name. She doesn't utter the name of the person, again demonstrating like how painful it is. So if you think about the way this poem moves, it starts off with that kind of sense of like monotony at the beginning. It's like regular life, and then you've got the questioning, you know, the feeling of anger, and then the questioning, why do I feel like this? Why am I struggling? And then the final stanza, that's your answer. It's because the place was the same, and it's thinking of your name that has created this force. 5 and a bit quotes for you there, hopefully analysed in a way that will help you with your revision, making flashcards. Any questions, pop them in the comments, or if you'd like any feedback on any of the lines of the poem that I haven't given you, just again, whack them in the comments and I will come back to you. Thanks so much for watching. Happy revising.